I understand that the WTF factor is pretty high around here on the channel. There's a fair amount of different things going on, and a number of things that probably don't make sense, especially at a cursory glance. See, one way of looking at it, I kind of just use this as a culminative and creative maelstrom to do any number of things. So we've got the parody videos, the memoirs, the gonzo journalism, talks about the narcissism debacle, the quasi-paranormal investigative stuff, etc. And as such, I've noticed that the YouTube algorithm, really doesn't know what to do. Doesn't know what to do with me. And that's fine. A friend pointed out some time ago, like, why don't you make like a different channel for each thing? And I was like, I'm not going to make like 13 different channels for each different thing. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm just not going to do it. And I don't really feel like changing anything. There's a way I do things. I like to call it creative cross-pollination. And this is a way of utilizing something like, ADD as more of a strength. Work with that. Transmute that chaos and, turn it into something productive. I'm mostly work intuitively, so it's like, and this is how I do things in my day-to-day and, my other vocations and things like this. But anyway, it's helpful, and it gets to the point where if I'm working on one thing and if something isn't there, drop, and then move on to the next thing, and then, it'll be time again, something will ping up, like, it's time to put this thing with the other thing, and we can finish that thing. Terrific. I suppose it's kind of like a shadow work exercise, too. And, So, I understand the WTF factor is probably relatively high, but that's just the way it's going to be. Folks either be into it or they won't. I also use this for therapeutic reasons, too. I've gone through a number of debacles. So that's the thing. And there's the whole Avatar situation here. I don't really feel like talking about that right now. There's a reason for that. There's a number of reasons for that. There's a reason for a lot of things. But I understand it's a lot. It's a little different. Someone may subscribe for the parody videos and then see some, half-hour conflictuatory rant about the narcissism debacle. I understand. It can be confusing. But that's my way of doing things, see? So I don't know. Ideally, maybe someday I'll make different channels and whatnot, but that's not exactly in the cards at the moment, and that's bizarre. Part of what I've been doing here is an exercise and coming back from the dead, frankly. Getting back on the path of self-actualization that had gone awry. And disentangling with that which had been very instrumental in a going awry has been quite a journey. Perplexing things. Conundrums and puzzles to be solved, and I feel like doing my part. It's important. Hope it'll save some folks some time. Those who are dealing with similar things. I'm referring to the narcissism debacle, the toxic family of origin thing, and anything else that's related. For anybody who doesn't know what that is or hasn't been exposed to it yet or information about it yet, I'm not sure if I can recommend any of my material on the subject in good conscience. My material on the subject is kind of more for the weary traveler who already, they're up to snuff. And I integrate some humor into it and a few things that might give them an edge here and there. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm just finding my way, just like anybody else in any number of things. Self-actualization is not a luxury. It's mandatory, in my opinion, especially with the whole psychobiology thing. There's a fair amount of conundrums out there in the world today, and I feel it incumbent to do a little something here and there to say something about that. Another way of looking at it. after a fair amount of detective work and shit testing a lot of things, ideologies, ways of doing things, seeing what works in practice as opposed to paper, and seeing where those two things actually meet up and where they don't. I've also got like a bazillion nicknames on here. Most of them are self-appointed, so, make of that what you will. The detective is the primary one. It's because I mostly have to, approach a lot of things kind of like a detective nowadays. It's been an adaptive necessity. Yeah, coming back from the dead, that's been a big one. Been a big problem. And, again, I gathered a lot of info from a lot of different places, a lot of parts and pieces of the puzzle. And, I feel like doing my part to elucidate that to the best of my ability. As if it wasn't for any number of people doing that prior, I would have been even farther up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. So, paying it forward. I understand things might look a little funny and odd around here, but, another thing is looks can be deceiving. And at the same time, why not have a little bit of fun with it? Throwing a few parody videos here and there. I was developing an intellectual property some years ago. So that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. The parody stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I thought I'd explain a little bit of the WTF factor around here. So there's that. I suppose that's about it for this one. So thanks for tuning in. And until next time. Oh, and for any new subscribers, appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hopping on. Usually there tends to be a few that hemorrhage every time. There's a few more that come on, a few hemorrhage out. I get it. But I ain't sticking to one thing. Just not doing it. Got to do the creative cross-pollination thing. Keeps things moving. This is not just a YouTube thing. This is how I do things. This is my adaptations. I think certain things like that might be useful to other folks, too. Maybe I'll make a video about it sometime. We'll see. If anybody ever wants to talk about that or hear anything about that, leave your commentary in the commentarium below. And we'll get something going. Alrighty. That's it for real this time. Thanks for tuning in again, and until next time again.